All right. Anyway, are we ready to go? Yeah. All right. Welcome to Inside with Outsiders. Today's guest is the founder of Bridge Runners and the co-founder of Bridge the Gap, Mike Saes.
What up, what up, what up?
What's up, man? Thank you for coming through. Last minute, too. Appreciate you.
My pleasure. I ran over here.
Yeah, I know you did. Of course you ran. Do you ever walk?
Yes, I run slowly.
Yeah.
That's walking, I guess.
I appreciate you. And you know what? You're a guy that's always, you're a staple in the lower downtown Manhattan, Lower East Side. So when we were supposed to be interviewing another character from down here, he couldn't make it last minute. So I appreciate you coming down.
Not a problem.
But you're like born and raised. Or you coined the term true Yorker. Or at least you're saying you did, right? So
Potentially, I guess.
Born and raised.
Yes, born and raised on the lower, and then I got bussed over to the west side when I was like 9, so 1979. I moved over to the Ville. So I've been going to the Corner Bistro.
Yeah.
Member since 79.
Oh wow.
Maybe even 78 before I moved there. And La Bonbonniere, my favorite greasy spoon. I've been going there since like 1980.
Yeah. So you're a proud true Yorker.
That's a fact.
Have you ever? No kidding. Like you lose it. Have you ever lived anywhere else?
I spent some time in L.A. in like 87 and 89. I did a little couch tour back then, a couple of months.
Mm.
And I used to spend a lot of time in South Beach in the mid 90s. So people thought I lived out there, but I probably used to go out there like once a month.
What were you doing down there?
I had a crib, Third and Collins.
Nice.
Amnesia of what I was doing.
Yeah. I wonder why.
Yeah, a lot of home cooking, et cetera. But no, I was climbing trees on the golf course and checking out alligators in the Everglades, and going to Sinatra Bar and Glam Slam and places like that.
You're one of the most interesting characters I know. I mean, a lot of the downtown stable characters are
also hanging out on the Animal Farm. My bad. Forgot about that one. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
What does that mean?
These are all stores and businesses that are at South Beach early. So if you were there in like 93, 95, you would know what I was talking about.
So we weren't rolling with the likes of people like Bill Spector down there?
Bill was out there. I was there like, there was a couple of people that already transplanted to South Beach from New York. My boy Adam Cooper, a few people with New Yorkers were already out there in 93, and me and my crew just that was our second home.
Well, let's talk about like what is like you're founder of Bridge Runners, but how did that come about? Like what were you doing through high school? What did you do after high school? Like Bridge Runners, what year was it founded?
Well, it's actually funny because in when I was in Miami, like at the beach a lot, I'd started running. I guess that was when I really started running. So I had
What year was this?
I guess this was like 94. So.
But what were you doing? I mean, what were you doing before then?
I was never really an athlete, which is in a good way kind of helps me now because I don't have the excuses of like, when I was a skater or a BMXer, like I don't have any of those injuries. So I'm kind of like a
lucky
fresh
man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be like an ultra runner than a high school quarterback. So I'm kind of happy that I saved myself. But I was an ex-track star in high school.
Really? What was your event?
Well, I was in the train tracks.
Tracks.
I was running in the train tracks.
So your name is Mike Saes. Saes is, I'm assuming, your graffiti tag?
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know that because my twin brother, who now lives in Portland, Oregon, was big into graffiti. He was part of. Hey, Chris, what were the crews Matt was part of? Crew was out of Jersey?
Out of Jersey City.
Yeah.
And then, they're down there. I know they're here in New York. It's the one that works, but I can't remember the name.
Okay, so you know Words? Yeah.
That's probably later than my time.
Definitely later than your time.
Yeah. I'm from I used to ride on trains, so
Yeah.
that generation.
Okay, so that's when you were running.
That's when I started running. I was running from beef,
Yeah.
from cops.
Yeah.
You know, that was the running, I think, you know, especially back then, you know, know when to walk away, know when to run.
So if you were to describe your identity prior to Bridge Runners, I guess maybe from high school through your mid-20s, would you say graffiti writer?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I guess I'm kind of a hip hop head. I did kind of everything. So, I'd say even though I'm a writer, I'm more of a vandal, right? I'm not an artist, not a graffiti artist. But
More like tags as opposed to throws.
No, but tags and throw-ups,
Yeah.
but no pieces, no burners.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like tagging, I'm good at, and throw-ups I'm good at. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty good. So, and just kind of originality, kind of creative stuff I did, like division signs and upside down tags.
Did you go to school for art, like in high school, or
I got kicked out of school for art.
really?
Both of them.
Wait. What high school did you go to?
Humanities, which I'm actually going to the anniversary coming
Really?
up.
So you graduated?
No, I got kicked out.
So you never got your high school diploma?
No, I went to I'm in the first graduating class of Manhattan Comprehensive Night School, which was in Park West at the time. So I was really good at summer school at Washington Irving, and I was good at night school. And I got kicked out of humanities. I got kicked out of I-70, and I went to Cali. This was like my senior year of high school.
Oh, you went to Cali your senior year? Okay.
Yeah, like I went to Cali in '87 for a couple of months, and then I went in '89, and you know, I owed some gym credits or whatever. I didn't graduate, even though I'm in the yearbook for humanities. I didn't officially graduate, which is cool. I kind of snuck in there.
Yeah, nice.
But then I went to Manhattan Comprehensive Night School and graduated. But then they were like, "Oh, you're like a half credit short. You know, come back this summer and get your diploma." And I never got my diploma.
Half
but
credit.
I did. Yeah, like, you know, in humanities it was half credits, and other schools it was full credits, and
Yeah.
But I was kind of the smartest kid in the school, so they were like, "Oh, come back in the summer and get your diploma," and then I didn't. And then like 10 years ago, I needed my passport, and I was trying to find like some old ID, so I went to PS3, which I went to, and found like my yearbook, and then I tried to go to Manhattan Comprehensive to get my diploma. They're like, "We have no idea what you're talking about."
Really?
I'm like, first graduating class.
Yeah.
I wrote a poem.
So let me ask you.
They don't know me.
I guess asking if you went to college. You didn't go to college, right?
School of Hard Knocks.
School of Hard Knocks. What were you doing after high school? What would you spend your time on? Anything you can mention legally?
Statute of limitations is long past. I sold fireworks for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, that was my summer job. That was my only job for 10 years.
Yeah. Have you got them out of Chinatown?
Yeah, Little Italy, Chinatown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I remember grabbing them down there as well.
I did
Might
that.
have bought them from you as kids. Who knows?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Lafayette and Canal. I mean Broadway and Canal. So that corner. Like in the early 80s, 84, I was on Lafayette and Canal, and then when the graffiti writers started coming out, you know, in the early 90s, we were on that corner. Suquan actually has a great photo of the crew on that corner. But nice. I did that for a long time. What else?
Can you send us that photo?
We'll ask. We'll ask Suquan for him. What else did I do? In the that was like the 90s. Oh yeah, I did a lot of weed stuff. Did like weed delivery services. That was my thing.
Yeah. Throughout
the 90s when I was a baller. And then the 2001, I guess, but I guess I'm already 31. That's when I did the Urban Experience Museum. I had like a gallery project at the Seaport.
What'd you do?
I had a big, like 6,000 square feet at the Seaport. It's called the NYC Urbex. So I did some really amazing art shows. And
what was your art? What was your medium?
It was everything. Like I had a theater. So I showed dope movies like Flying Cut Sleeves and Style Wars and Wild Style and stuff like that. And I had some really good art shows. The entrance was painted by Stay High 149, Voice of the Ghetto, as soon as you walked in. And I did an all-female show for Women's Month.
What year was this?
This was like 2001 to 2003.
Okay. So I think I met you around 2004.
And that's when I started running in 2004. Well, 2003 really. 2004. So I did the urban experience, lost a lot of money, got a lot of good friends, that I know from that experience, did a lot of really good shows. So made history, which to me is more important than making money, making history. Losing money's not great, but history is forever. Money comes and goes, right? But that was great, and it's still an idea that I'm working on, the Urbex. But I went from the art stuff to like kind of the health stuff, and I started running.
Well, before you get into the health stuff, how did you come up with Saes? I mean, I don't see your graffiti name.
Saes, I got in probably 1984, where I had like a dozen and a half tags before Saes. And Saes came, like, at the time, like EAs, like, and graffiti tags was dope, so I always wanted one. And then one day, a friend, Bogart, and my other friend, Reese, Todd James, we got together, and Reese had came up with this tag, Saes. And then we had this idea, like, oh, let's all three of us write one tag, which was Saes. And they did for a half a second, and I did, forever.
Yeah.
So I kept the tag. So I was
Gotcha.
It was given to me by Reese Blight 2.
Because it could be. It sounds like it could be your last name.
So funded, like, my first check from Nike said Mike Saes, and my sister's people believe their names are like Elizabeth Saes.
Right.
So they think it's our last name, but no.
Okay.
Just my tag. The one that I stuck with after. I have a few others, but yeah.
Because I knew Saes wasn't your last name, but I forgot until I sent you the invite for this interview, and I saw wait, oh, that's his last name. I forgot.
Yeah, people bug out about that one. Yeah.
So that's
Saes since like '84.
Okay.
But I had like a lot of tags before that.
Yeah.
And so
how did the running come about?
So the running was, again, from being a vandal, dealing with that. And then I kind of became a sneaker collector. That was in the 80s. It was like Sneaker King in New York for a while. Ask about me.
Okay.
But I was a sample size. So I used to, right next to Fireworks was Broadway Sneakers. And my boy Udi worked there or owned it. And he's about my age. So he would put me on to what sneakers were coming out. So
nice.
So I would have all the kicks before everybody.
How many pairs you got?
I mean, I don't know. I'm like a non-box collector, so like I never kept the boxes.
Right, you were.
But I am in the like documentaries. I'm in them.
Yeah.
Like, just not like, shout out. They didn't use my footage.
And you do this from childhood, I guess, or whenever you.
I became a sneakerhead in the early '80s from some other stuff my crew and I would do in like '85, '86, where we would end up getting a lot of nice sneakers. So like when the first Air Maxes and Revolutions and Air Aces. So I've been like, that was like the official, like, okay, sneaker. Like, I was the first one with Revolutions, Aces. My crew all had Maxes.
Yeah.
So we and then my partner Dagan and I at the time we would buy women's sneakers just because they came out in different colors.
Yeah.
So it was always about like getting something else.
Yeah.
And then Jordans and stuff came out, but it was before all of that. I was a sneakerhead. And then when I started getting the samples, I was really sneaker king. And then that's when I kind of just started wearing Nikes. Like, I just became a Nike head because I was collecting too much. I had too many kicks. You know what I mean? So,
well, I actually forgot to ask you about your family and your parents, and we're jumping ahead to this. We'll get back to the sneakers, but where are your parents from?
Well, my mother was an Army brat who ended up in Richmond, which is kind of next to Oakland, California, before she came to New York, and like I believe like 1968-ish, and ended up on the Lower East Side. And my father's old non-practicing Jew who I think got to the Bronx when he was like 6 and ended up on the Lower East Side. So they met down here, and I grew up right around here, East Village.
What's your mom's ethnic background?
She's black.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, my complexion, so mixed up. But she was out. She grew up in Cali mostly, so that's where grandma ended up. So I have a lot of family roots in California, like a lot.
Okay, so that's the correlation between why you went to LA those couple of years. Did your mom send you?
No, because when I was visiting my grandma, we actually went to Oakland. That was like '84.
Okay.
Remember, I tried to bring spray paint back on the flight, and she took it out of my luggage.
Yeah.
Can't carry spray paint. So I was like 84. I was 13. So that was like I went to like Santa Cruz and stuff. That's when I was a kid. That was before LA. LA, I went with this kid, Alyasha, and this other skater, Floyd, from London. And we went in like 87. We were wearing Avias back then. The crazy Avias came out with the fluorescent colors.
An ad for that on Instagram, like they're bringing them back.
Yeah,
Weird.
that was a sneaker then. But then I was also going to like Nike Town, LA. That was sick. So yeah, then I was big then too. That was 86. That was all before I started getting the samples. So I was already like a sneaker dude. And then I became a sneakerhead. And then I decided that I'm wearing running sneakers. If you wear basketball sneakers, you should play basketball. I'm wearing running sneakers, I should run. So in like 94, I was wearing 95s. Nobody knew what they were.
Yeah.
I was on South Beach running from my crib on 3rd and Collins to the Delano on 21st and back. Hard sand. So I was doing that in 94. I don't know if that's before.
What inspired you to start? I mean, was it just because you
the Raven? I don't know if I started before the Raven or not, but I used to do that. That was my steez.
They're running from on the hard part of the beach to
20th and back. So that was like a mile out and a mile back. So that was like 94 when I was doing that.
Why'd you what snapped in your mind that made you decide to start running?
It was the shoes. Like I'm wearing running sneakers. Not that people are supposed to run in 95s,
right?
Especially in 94. But it was like these are for running. So I got some more running shoes, some kicks, and I started running in them because I liked the running kicks and all Air Maxes and all that stuff. And then when I was still sneaker collecting before, I guess, because I wasn't only wearing Nikes at this time, because I started getting the Hermes and the Louis and all the expensive shoes that came out. And I would run in every pair of them. So I had this test where I had to run at least 6 blocks in any pair of sneakers that I got. So
you're running 6 blocks in Hermes and Louis?
Air Force Ones, any new sneaker that I got.
6 blocks.
I would do.
Why?
It was my hey, you never know.
Oh, okay,
just in case, like if I get chased, what I got to do.
Oh,
I have to. So I would test every pair of sneakers.
So let me ask you: is that what kind of? That's the inspiration for starting to run, to make sure you could still run in case you needed to run.
Yeah. Hey, you never know.
Right.
That was the campaign in my head.
Okay.
So every pair of kicks. Yeah.
So
$500 sneakers, 6 blocks, fully dressed.
Were there any of those sneakers that didn't pass the test?
Yeah, a lot of those sneakers were. I mean, you can't wear without socks. In the rain, they lost their shape. All the really expensive ones were no good.
Right.
I still have.
You're running in loafers.
My Hermes and my Louis, they lost their shape. Then they're not good for certain things. But I did run in every single pair of shoes, and that was a thing for me. Like I need to be able to run, and then that became. A mile and 2 miles, and that was in the mid 90s.
And you're running solo at the time.
Yeah, I was running solo. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember running around Washington Square Park when I was like 14 or something, 13, with like a few people. We'd run around Washington Square. But my friend Jerry Dean was like running around Washington Square in like 86 wearing Daisy Dukes and stuff. But I wasn't a runner back then. My running was really just based on beef.
Right.
And cops.
So when was this transition from, well, you said transitions from running because of cops or beef, then to running on the beach because you decided, okay, I'm going to skip this running thing and try.
From running from to running to.
Right, exactly.
That was the transition. So.
And what was the next step in the running for you?
Well, what happened was after the museum, like 2003, it kind of, temporarily shut the doors. 21 years later. But I was still kind of this community organizer kind of vibe. And we were biking with the crew, a bunch of artists, cool people, and it was kind of exploring on bikes where we would go to like, there's an ill taco spot in the back of a record store on Bedford. So we'd bike out there, and then we would get drinks to go, and then we'd go to Grand Street Pier. This is all like 2003, right? And it was always about somebody else kind of taking the lead on where to explore in New York to get some sort of food or some sort of drink. We would meet at the Hat with margaritas to go. That was our thing. We'd fill the basket up with margaritas, and so that would be our kind of mission. So that was really the start of Bridge Runners, because it was really about like having destinations. So I was already kind of running just to be like, hey, you never know. And then also like I used to live in Shaolin in like 92, and I used to go to like the Red Zone, and I would run home from the ferry to my crib. I lived on Van Duzer. I lived right by the White Castle. So
what made you move out there?
The family. This is like my whole family moved out there. But at the right time, 92, 93. And I would run home from the ferry in my 40 belows and stuff like that. Yeah. So that kind of run by myself, and I'd be like, I'm the only guy running at 4:30 in the morning that left the Red Zone.
Right.
And I'd have all these things in my head, so that kind of, I did that kind of running, but it was solo and it was exploring, and it was like, I'm gonna go this way or that way. It was like my therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it became a group thing, and like.
But running from the club, you're saying?
I used to run from that later on in life became a group thing. But I'm saying running for me, right? I had this kind of relationship with running at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. or
an informal run in a sense.
Just wearing a snorkel and freaking 40 belows, like Timbos, corduroys. Like I would just run.
So when did it become like a community thing?
So after the Urbex, 2003, we're doing the biking, and I was hanging out with Aaron the Don and a few of the crew, and I used to do Luger lunches, Peter Luger's, for the burger.
Yeah.
2003.
So DJ Soul put me onto that burger.
So get the burger and cream spinach, glass of wine, some schlag, across the bridge, and smoke one going across. I'm in a rush to get across because I had to pick up my son from nursery school, which I'm kind of always late for. And so I was like, shit, can't catch a cab, gotta run.
Is your first child?
It's my son. It's my number one son. So,
how many kids do you have?
4.
4, and is he your
middle? He's my middle, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. So
wait, when was your first child? That's just an important factor we would talk about.
Well, I have Michaela's the oldest. She's 26. Alon, I guess 25, or they're all turning, and Indy's 22, about to be 23. And then I have a 7-year-old, Amelia. So new generation.
Yeah.
But my son was in nursery school, I guess 2003, so he's almost 3 or so. And I had to go pick him up, so I ran over the bridge, and I kind of fell in love with the bridge, with the train. Not that there was graffiti on it, but there's graffiti on the bridge.
Yeah.
The people, you see them, bikes, people, and I was like, oh, this is so much better than the treadmill, which I had also done at some point in my life, ran on treadmills, So I was like, this is freaking cool. Like the bridge, this is dope. Like running next to a train.
It was birthed by you being late to pick up your son.
Yes.
Which
is funny because I was just thinking that the other day because I get complaints about being late. And I'm like, if I wasn't late to pick up I just came up with this Saesism.
Yeah.
If I wasn't late to get my son, this whole movement.
That's crazy. That's amazing. Well, things happen for a reason.
The next 2 weeks, Luger lunch with another friend, Frankie Lex, or Frankie Tahoe at the time. He was named after whatever car he drove. And so Frankie Tahoe took me to, it wasn't Frankie Beamer anymore. It was Frankie Tahoe drove me to the Brooklyn Bridge, which is closer to my son's nursery. And I ran over the Brooklyn Bridge. And that's when I started kind of bridge running. And then I started doing it by myself, and then people saw me and became a group, and then some of the bikers, not really the bikers didn't really run. Maybe like 1 out of 10 of the bikers are too cool to run, kind of, and the bridge rollers were all about rolling.
But bridge rolls was started by you?
Bridge rollers was started by our crew. Like, it was not,
understood.
but I was one of the community organizers that put that together. That's kind of what I did for the last, I did it with handball, with dodgeball. We did it with, what else did we do? Handball, dodgeball, definitely biking. But I just try to get people together and be healthy, and smoke weed. Like, our tennis thing was great. We did a intensity. We always play on grass.
Oh, yeah.
So we used to play till 1 in the morning, and then we go to the ear end.
Where'd you play on grass in the city?
There was no grass. We were always playing
on grass.
Yeah. We had like a pit bull dog boy. And
Yeah,
it was,
this guy's clever. Huh?
But we used to, after we played tennis at 1 in the morning, we go to the ear end and order dessert first. And so that was just kind of like community vibes.
It's not a lifestyle, like, it's not like balance. You don't necessarily do a sport early in the morning and then not have a life at night. Like, that's why I enjoy people. A lot of these outdoor companies or outdoor communities will meet up at like 7 a.m. and 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. I'm like, why? Yeah. I just want people who enjoy themselves at night and not have to kill them. So, like, we wake up, we meet up at like 10, 10:30, sometimes 11, sometimes noon. Yeah. I just want people to enjoy their life.
I'm with you. Yeah, exactly. Because how many more people will show up later that didn't oversleep if you give people a respectable time?
And think about those who are waking up super early, the diehards. And honestly, because it's a community, because it's social, that's not our target demo. We're not going after people, like in your case, we're not going after like all these ultra runners. Some of them might be, but it's not. You're kind of alienating others if you're doing that.
It's always been about bridging the gap between, experts and kind of, non-runners.
Right.
So even though we have people that are like the illest, I think most of them, if you're in our movement, they all want to share what they know with the slowest runner of the group, or whoever wants to be faster, etc. You know what I mean? I think it's really it's wild how, like you said, it's a lifestyle, but how it's become this kind of global community that's really like the most important thing, like of the most relevance. Like before it was just this cool thing where you go running and you get a Nike shirt and you experience New York City, and same thing for me. Like every time I went on a bridge roll, I would learn something new about Corona Ice King or this spot over there or whatever. Right? That's part of the mission. So, and New York City, run your city, like being able to put people on to what your city's all about is really like the gift of our city, right?
And it's an easy lift. I mean, running, you don't need equipment. You you can run anywhere at any time. So I can see it's such a great community builder. Yes. One of our director of partnerships for Outsiders is a runner. And he moved to from Brooklyn to Jersey City, and he was having a hard time meeting people in the bars, and weren't as friendly as they would be in Brooklyn, for example, because there's a lot more implants in Brooklyn. So he started a little run club, and within a year, he's got a huge following. It's on Mondays in Jersey City, called Chilltown Street Club. But for him, came out of a personal need to connect with people.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that's what's really the most important, because, the crews are like a competition, but only in competition for like flyness, right? Yeah. Like speed is speed, and there's, mostly speed is based on clubs. Any crew that's really fast has more of a club mentality, but they just happen to be cooler runners than clubs. But that's what speed is all about.
Right.
And wait, I forgot the point I was trying to make about crews and clubs. But the crew mentality is more about, running at night, celebrating after the run, the the club mentality is 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Get these miles done with, right?
It's not a social thing.
I mean, it could be social with like-minded people, but those like-minded people like to get up at 5 a.m. for runs.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's fine, and it's social in that way, and it's.
But I mean, those people who wake up at 6 a.m. for runs usually go to work afterwards, whereas you're running in the evening. And if they want to extend their evening through the night and do something social, it's more conducive to that.
Exactly. And that's the point of it. It's like, okay, who are you going to meet up with? Who's showing up? Passports in the front.
We've done a couple of runs. We always make sure we never do them on Wednesdays. We never want to take away from your run. So like, there's been a couple of times we're partnered up with some other social groups or gyms and so on. They asked us to lead a weekly summer run, and we're like, yeah, but we're not doing it on Wednesdays.
Funny.
So
well, listen, there's other things happening on Wednesdays, and it's fine because truthfully and proudly, Bridge Runners isn't for everybody. Yeah. Sometimes there's for first and last timers.
But we also do our respect also, because when I launched Outsiders, I think it was you and Cedric that reached out that I'm launching this thing, and you guys posted it on your social and everything, and it really helped us launch. Like, we had one of our key members of Outsiders helped us out tremendously. It was Brian O'Connor. Brian O'Connor is a member of Bridge Runners. He saw through that, and then he spread the word for us. So it's always been recognized as appreciated from you guys.
Well, it's like we're on the same lines of getting people healthy and having fun.
Yeah.
I just coined the phrase "punishment."
Punishment. I like that. That's a great term.
I mean, that's our goal. And again, on Wednesdays, that's what you're going to get, right? You're going to get some sort of adventure. It's not all.
I ran with you guys once, and I plan on doing more. I'm not a big runner, and I can't do long distance because of certain injuries, like we spoke about. Right. But it was I had back surgery in 2011, and I've recovered. But the first run I did was, the doctor told me to stay under 6 miles. So I was telling Cedric, I'm coming by for the run. How long? I shouldn't be more than 4 miles. I'm like, bet. No more than 4 miles. I got my friend Lenny from the Outsiders team to join me. I'm going for a run. It's summer, beautiful day. Meet up. This is when you were on by like spring. What was it? By La Esquina. That meet up.
The smoke shop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we get up. We start running to the ferry. Runs to the ferry. A quick pace. I'm competitive, so I'm up in the front with these guys, trying to keep up. Gets to the ferry, a little out of breath. Oh, that was great. Okay, we're gonna take the ferry to Williamsburg Pier and get out from there and run. So run the ferry. And I see a bunch of familiar faces and downtown characters that it's nice to see them in that realm. I was used to seeing them in nightlife and in those environments. So we get to the ferry, starts moving, and it doesn't stop at Williamsburg. Why? The Williamsburg ferry terminal is closed. The pier was closed. It took us to Long Island City. Dude, I had to run back from Long Island City. The run was supposed to be 3 to 4 miles, ended up being 7 or 8. I was pissed.
Sounds about right.
But to your point, it was one of the best days I had that summer. And I'll say it was because I ran with a group. I saw people there that I didn't think were runners I was having a hard time keeping up with. Right. And it ended up pouring. When we got towards Brooklyn, it started pouring, like dumping rain. And we needed it. It was hot. It felt so good. We stopped for ice cream. Then we ran over the bridge. Then we got over the bridge and everyone stopped. Everyone was giving a high five. Just like amazing community. And I look back at it. My friend Lenny and I talk about it. We say, first off, we're never going to run if it's going to be 8 miles. We could never tell the bridge runners. But we also said it was such an amazing experience. Like, I really loved that run. Yeah.
And that was your only time?
I'll do it again.
Have you done a Harold Hunter run?
Not yet, no.
Those are big, and we have skaters and bikers
how long,
for that too.
I'm more of a biker personally. Like, I can run, but like, haven't had back surgery. I still play basketball, and I train for basketball as interval kind of training. So a long distance run kicks my ass.
I like the biking is great too, because biking is support for us. You know what I mean? So we love bikers.
Well, we did collaborate on an event. We did the 9/11 ride with you guys, which was
100 miler.
I ended up being like 100 and change.
Right, nice.
The Strava said like 117, but we did take the ferry and the path train. And
I count those miles now.
So it was 117. I think it ended up being like 105 or something like that. But it was great. Started off with like 40 riders, and we had people jumping in and jumping out, which I loved, and we stopped for food and so on. But by the time we finished, it was maybe like 10 of us, 12 of us. Right. And you just feel connected because you just did like, that's tough.
Did we? Because this year we managed to finish by midnight.
That year
we
we did.
finished at like 3 a.m. or
No,
something.
no. When we did it, we finished at right. I think we were at 11:45. We were rushing to get to the
lights.
The lights at the World Trade area.
Yeah.
So we got there on time. I heard the year before that I got there at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did it early. Yeah, because now we're trying to, because it's like, why does it take us?
Well, we itemized
14 hours to do 100 miles, and
Yeah.
it takes. But we stop.
Yeah.
Beer or blunt in every borough.
And then trying to get people to get up and move towards the end after the stop where I wasn't sure I was going to make it was the Prospect Park bar, the Fireman Bar.
Farrell's.
Yeah, Farrell. So I was struggling. I was like, my quads were like getting borderline cramping up. We get there, they serve like these big Budweisers in styrofoam cups. I went across the street. I got 2 bananas, Gatorade, another snack, and then I might have 2 of those. I had a nice buzz.
Yeah,
and but that gave me the energy to get going. We powered through. We went from Prospect Park, Farrell's to Red Hook, and then we powered over the bridge again. We went over the bridges I can't count how many bridges we went over that day. Yeah. It was good. I'm getting off the tangent because I love that. Go ahead.
Well, that's kind of the energy of the running, except we do ultras where you can eat and run, but generally on a Wednesday we can't really stop and eat. So maybe ice cream, maybe a shot.
Well, even that little element of post, like what we do after we do a hike or climbing or kayaking, that breaking bread, literally eating together and drinking together is solidifying those bonds. I think it's crucial. Yeah,
and it's also promoting these businesses, giving people other routes to run,
and
destinations, and kind of celebrating all of the culture of New York, not just being like, okay, we go to this one spot and that's the only spot we go to. So we're always trying to find the next spot. It doesn't have to be 100 years old.
Right.
It's nice to support those places so they're still around for the next 100 years. Yeah. But we're also do new spots, any kind of best kept secret, we want to let people know about. And that's kind of what we do with the running too. Like when Bon Bon Candy, which is trending now, when they first opened and I kind of discovered them, we ran there. Here's a new spot that has ice cream that's open late at night. Yeah.
By exposing people to, we have to, because New York's going to end up being all banks and pharmacies soon. So if we're not showing support to the privately owned mom and pop type of shops, New York's going to be this terrible franchise, and Manhattan's going to be the island for the super rich with no culture. Right. So I think it's extremely important.
Yes, roots and culture for sure.
Yeah. And we know there's going to be development, and it's going to be hard. You have to find that balance between culture and development. So it doesn't become like what Williamsburg has become and shit like that. Right. So when did Bridge Runners actually become a company?
So I was running bridges 2003. A couple of friends. It was a super hot summer, so we'd run at night. It's running at midnight, Midnight Express, running later, the after party, which was go to a club, drink a lot, go run the bridges 3, 4 in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning, whatever it was. Running to clubs. So that was kind of that summer, 2003.
What clubs were you running to?
Well, it's funny, Bridge Runners actually became the Bridge Runners in 205 Christie, because I was in there. I was with a friend, Dan Cherry, and my other boy Matt, who I just met, and I told Dan, I was like, yeah, fuck the gym, because I was paying a lot of money, Chelsea Piers, and I was like, actually, I was running in Chelsea Piers too. That's when we were running track, my crew and I. That's when I was big. I was 198 pounds. I started running the track. This is late 90s. Anywho, in 2003, I'm in 205 Christie. I guess I'm wearing running gear. I told my boy, fuck the gym. I'm running bridges now.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a bridge runner, but we didn't have a name.
Right.
And he was like, "Oh, that's cool. I should tell my people at Nike about that." He worked at Wieden & Kennedy at the time. And I was like, "Oh, cool. I'm a Nike head. I only wear Nikes now. I stopped collecting everything."
Shout out to North Face, by the way. This guy, seriously.
And does North Face make running sneakers? Maybe not.
They do make footwear, but it's usually
trail stuff,
outdoors.
probably.
Yeah.
Anywho, so that was 2004, and we didn't have a name. I just ran Bridges, and they were like, and then I kind of explained. I had meetings with this guy Gerardo Carucci, who actually ended up working at Apple. He might still be at Apple now, but he worked there at the time, and he was passionate about the culture part. And I was like, I guess I explained what Bridge Rollers did, and I was like, I basically said where I ran now, and he was like, yo, we should recreate old New York and show, like, if there was a bakery there, let's bring back the bakery and the smell of bread for the neighborhood. Let's do that, like all this kind of old school stuff. So then it became like a culture thing, which was like, all right, this is dope. So my task was to like find dope spots to run to and get a history lesson.
Yeah.
So that was 2004, and we came up with the name Bridge Runners, which I kind of based off of Blade Runner at the time. And then my friend was working with Wyden, and then they came up with the Warriors theme. I didn't come up with the Warriors theme. They did. And the logo. And they were like, you are this gang, which is true. And so the first run that we did in 2005, the shirt says, run like you can dig it. It was like the run like your city. So so it's like the can you dig it theme. And then we run in peace. So that's when like that came together. The branding became, okay, we're a running gang. The culture was always there because like the first run we did, I bought on Vinnie Vella. We ran to Little Charlie's Clam House on Kenmare, and we, did a talk about Little Italy and Nolita and what it was like growing up in New York. And then we did a run in Williamsburg. There's still a lot of graffiti out there as a beginning. It's just
So it became almost like a tour, in a sense.
It was a tour of New York.
And when how long did it stay? You still kind of have elements.
It is
of that.
every Wednesday. It is, it's never not a snake run. It's always art involved. There's always something, right?
Yeah.
But at that point, we were doing what was called elevated runs, where we would go to Queens, go to the Bronx. Like, so we went to Spanish Harlem, and we did a party at Patsy's, and I had Fable from Rocksteady talk about El Barrio. We ran to Yankee Tavern by Yankee Stadium, and I had Nice and Smooth perform and talk about what it was like growing up in the Bronx. And I went to the Seaport and had a third generation fishmonger speak. It was when the Seaport still had fish. So it was basically learning about New York. I'm learning at the same time, but it became these culture runs.
Okay.
And this is like so long ago. This is 2005.
So when did it kind of? It didn't really change. It's still that, but you're not so focused on that.
I think what happened is luckily, other brands besides Nike joined in and saw like the growth of non-traditional runs and crew running, and so the movement spread more thin, and so now more people are involved. So we kind of planted the seeds and everything kind of in the Bridge Runner garden, but we didn't, we don't do the big elevated runs anymore like other people do that kind of stuff, which is better. It's easier for us. We just show up and kind of take the glory of these like amazing events that we're involved with. But I think other people, like, we still do our ultras. I think we're the best at that, like creating like a 100-mile run or a 50K. Like that's what.
And they're all within
like
New York, right?
Yes.
I know you guys done the Speed Project and stuff like that.
Yeah,
too,
the Speed Project, which is coming up. Shout out to that next week. And then we did this thing, Bell to Bull, where I'm actually wearing a shirt below this one, Bell to Bull somewhere, where we run from the Philadelphia Bell.
So the Wall Street Bull?
To the Wall Street Bull, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
Damn,
wait. You run from Philly to New York?
Yes, through New Jersey.
How many days does that take?
So it's actually a 2 runners, 1 bike. And you alternate running and biking, one person is always biking, one person is always running.
How many miles is that?
I think I got lost, so it ended up being about 96 miles.
Yeah, I think it's
for
about
us.
between New York and Philly. I think it's like exactly like 94.
Yeah, there's 99 miles
Yeah.
at a certain route. How we did it was supposed to be like closer to 90, but we got lost.
How long does it take?
And what's funny is like it was whatever it was around my birthday. Every year I do kind of my years. And so we did the Bell to Bull. It was in December. And we got lost. So I think when we finished, we were at 96 miles.
So you turned 96 years old? Is that what happened?
No. So half of it is biking, half of it's running.
Yeah.
So I think we were at like 48 miles of running. And I had to do like, I guess, 51 miles. So after that race, I ran the bridge by myself to get in my 51 miles. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. But it was like shout out to my partner, JDB, but she would bike, I would run, I would bike. Every time I would run really fast, we got lost. I'd run the wrong direction. It was great. We couldn't read a map.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so that's an adventure. So that's out of state. And then the TSP is phenomenal. The crew just did Chile. They did TSP Chile, which was like amazing.
Sorry, you wanted to say something before? But I saw you grabbing the mic. I don't want you forget the thought.
I know I'm taking the name bridge runners literally. So what bridges can you run in New York? I know there's certain you can't run across all of them because they don't have walkways.
Well, you can't do the Verrazano except for the marathon.
That's the only one, right?
Well, there's other ones. Well, now you could do the Cuomo, the Tappan Zee, but
Can you do the Bronx Whitestone and the Throgs Neck?
I don't think so, or we would have done them.
Because I'm not sure if they have walkways or not.
No, but the Triborough we do.
Yeah.
The RFK. There's a few up there.
No, it's a Triborough. Don't be calling it RFK. We going changing name. The freaking 59th Street Bridge, changing that name too.
Exactly.
Ed Koch Bridge.
Tappan Zee Bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
The Ed Koch, the 59th, the QB, is probably the most hated bridge in New York.
Worse than Williamsburg
A lot
Bridge?
of people hate Williamsburg. I was
going to say Williamsburg and Queensbridge to me they're the same.
I think Queensbridge is a little longer, which they're both like 1 1/3,
yeah.
like longer than or closer to 1 1/2, but more than the Brooklyn and the Manhattan. But Queensbridge people hate, but a lot of people really hate the Willie B.
Yeah, it's like
I love them all.
Escalation, then incline, and then it stops. Then you think you're done, and incline again.
Yeah. My favorite is the Manhattan for downtown, just because it's close to the train. And you have the two sides. When it's raining, I'm on the other side. But also in New York, I like the Triborough, one of them. There's like Tron, where the one that leads you into the Bronx, from Randall's Island. So I like kind of freaky, weird bridges. I love.
We've ridden our bikes.
I love bridges.
When did
my problem.
Cedric? He loved bridges. That's the problem. When did Cedric get involved with bridge runners?
So Cedric, in I guess it was probably like 2006, maybe. It was kind of early, but there's a group of runners that were working out on the FDR Drive. And again, I was doing the FDR Drive workouts before that. But we had stopped. Like, we had a whole track set up Saturdays. We had ladders and rubber bands, and we were doing all this track stuff, like, early. And then Cedric was doing stuff with my boy Power Malu.
Yeah,
who I didn't know at the time.
I met Power in 2004.
It's this friend I had known, Deirdre, who was putting that group together. She's like the captain of that group.
Which Deirdre is that? The fashion Deirdre?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Maloney?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I forget. But yeah, fashion, yes. So she's like, come join our group. And I went there, but they were doing like hardcore workouts, and I wasn't ready for that. And I was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get injured. But I'm running, and at that time, I might have been running like a few nights a week, not just Wednesdays. I used to run like every night, like sometimes twice a night, like 7, midnight. Anybody would call me at any time, like 1 a.m, like, I need to go running. I'd be like, let's go. Like, this Bruce Lee thing that I heard, like, if you showed up to Bruce Lee's house and you tapped your foot to fight him, he would come out and fight you. So I had, if anybody calls me to go running, I'm like, let's go. So I would run like whenever, 1 a.m, whenever. So I was doing a couple of nights a week at the time before Bridge Runners became official every Wednesday for 21 years now, right? So I invited Cedric, and he was like, I'll never run a marathon. I guess, so yeah, so I ran my first marathon in 2006, and I think Cedric was already there. So he came to the marathon. I think he tried to sneak in at the end or something.
Yeah.
And Zappo had come. So she was like, so those were like day 0.5, right? Like, or day 1.5. Like,
Right.
yeah, day 1.5 was like, they came like probably 2006 when I started 2005. Gotcha. And they kind of helped create, not kind of helped, they did create the Bridge the Gap, because that's when crews from all around the world were doing similar things, and we all came together to do our thing together. And that was because of just basically, finding out about Pata in Amsterdam and Run Dem in London and Paris Run Club in Paris.
I met some of one of the Pata guys in Paris, and those guys can run.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty, where like now you have this kind of allegiance of like cool people all around the world that, it started here with us in 2003, like in front of the hat running with margaritas, 2 a.m, or on mushrooms or something, and whatever,
Yeah.
But now it's kind of anywhere you go, and you can mention Bridge Runners or Bridge the Gap, and you're gonna.
Yeah, I mentioned it to this guy from Pata, and he knew right away.
Right.
Who else? Someone in Sweden, I think someone in Japan. But yeah.
B2G familia everywhere, which is great, because it's also like people who've yet to meet, right? Like people who have yet to run, right? So it's like we're kind of like, exploring globally and like recruiting people as we go along. So the future, and history are all kind of at the same moment. So it's really cool. Like what I'd say, like people, when you bridge the gap for the first time, right? Like people were in Seoul, and probably most of the people that were in Seoul are from that kind of part of the planet, that area. But before that, people were in Tokyo, and there was like over 100 New Yorkers in Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
So they got to figure out what it's like to bridge the gap, like truthfully, like with the passport, and go meet all these people that you haven't met. And then the next time you do that, whether it be in Berlin or, or Wisconsin coming up, you're going to meet these new people, and you're going to inspire other people to start running, which is really what's kind of amazing, because like what you said is, it only takes your feet and your sneakers. So here's something, especially for us, because, the sexy pace is cool. Like it's not about speed. It's about like, stop and smell the spray paint. So I think the mission now that is continuing to grow.
That's my next question. Where do you see Bridge Runners going? Or where would you like to see it go?
Well, it's not about Bridge Runners, right? So Bridge Runners became this kind of, we Bridge Runners together, and we like kind of create the leaders. A lot of people that ran with us have started their own crews, and that's kind of what our kind of job is, to help give the blueprint. So a lot of times I get questions, about advice on how to start a crew or keep a crew or splintering a crew, and I'm always like, look, the more crews, the merrier, the better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, Bridge Runners isn't for everybody. A BR 6 miler could be most likely 8 miles. People aren't ready for that. Some people have dinner plans.
I feel attacked.
Yeah, no. That's just that's a it's a 6 miler ish.
Yeah, ish. Which could be like
tonight
12.
we'll see. And it's also funny.
Oh, you ran a marathon.
I'm like, oh, you're training for a half marathon? We could do that on Wednesday, no problem. But that's kind of the the adventure part is that, you know, we don't know where we're running. We
Yeah.
know where we're going to finish and where we're going to start, but kind of don't know where in between. And then,
But what's your, like, do you have a vision of how you want, whether it be Bridge the Gap or Bridge Runners to grow, or is it?
oh yeah,
that's where it is?
no, I mean, it's growing at enormous speeds. I was just saying how, like, post COVID and everything being shut down, like, Bridge the Gap is huge. Like, what just happened in Seoul, BTGSEL, hashtag BTGSEL, was like all of the crews out there coming together to do, you know, something, you know, the power of the crew love. And same thing in Tokyo. So now it's really about different crews hosting their cities, which also makes life easier because it's just this big community effort.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, what's really great is you kind of don't have to run, right? If you can't run, you must cheer.
Right.
But everybody plays their part in the community. And I think, like, now, especially if you're a real runner and you have this addictive personality where, like, an injury is like the end of the world to you, you know what I mean? Having this community to back you up where, you know, you can't run, but you still have the crew love.
Yeah.
I think is really big.
Well, it's beyond just running, right?
Yeah, this is lifestyle. That's what I'm really mostly proud of. Not like getting cool people to run, not designing, you know, a bunch of cool shirts, but actually creating a community that ends up, you know, in marriages and children and all these other things, but really just kind of, you know, every Wednesday I know, you know, 7:30-ish.
Yeah.
I'm going to hang out with cool people that I haven't seen, and I've been doing it for 21 years now. So it's
let me ask you to that point. Typically when people think outdoors, they think nature, but I don't see it. I see outdoors being outdoors. It could be urban. Just getting outside is important. Obviously nature has its benefits, but just getting outside or walking on the street, I feel a sense of relief from staring at a computer screen or whatever it is. How do you explore and how do you continue to foster your love for the outdoors?
Well, it's nice to have like a destination or a suggestion. So when I show up tonight, I'll be like, any suggestions? You know, some people don't like that. They don't like, you know, the diplomacy of what bridge we're gonna run to. You know what I mean? But like if I have somebody from out of town or their birthday or, you know, first, you know, so I ask people where they want to run. If there's any like art show or anything happening on a Wednesday, we're definitely going to crash it.
Nice.
So I enjoy that. You know, one time we ran to the Bronx Museum of Art for a show up there. So like,
how far was that run?
That was like 10 miles. That was great. Well, you know,
when
way.
When you got another 4 miler or 3 miler, holler. Let me know.
Well, and also like, what's also great about our ultras is they're all jump ins, jump out. So it's jump in where you fit in. So like you could do the last 4 miles. What pains me is my birthday run, I'm about to do we do Ks, right? So I'm about to do, say, a 50K. And I go and I show up and there's 50 people there to run a 50K. And I'm like, holy shit, all of you guys?
Yeah.
And then like 10K in or 10 miles in, half of them leave. And I'm like, you bastards.
Yeah.
But people show up at the last 3 miles, 5 miles, and they power you to the finish. So that's what's really beautiful about
the 9/11 ride we did.
Yeah,
I don't expect people. I saw people jumping in. Like I know they're not going to finish, but I appreciate them just jumping in for what they are going to do.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes. All right. So we got a couple of questions here towards the end of our segment because we've taken a good amount of time here. This is one of my favorite questions. What is your most embarrassing moment? And I feel like Mike, you may not have an embarrassing moment. I don't think you're easily embarrassed.
I don't know, but I've fallen on the run before. Oh, it just pained me. I forgot about that run. I fell recently. I hit a cab door, but is that embarrassing? I don't know. Maybe. But I'll tell you, I've fallen on runs, and I'm always proud because I'm like, I took one for the team. And there was one run that I was running over the Brooklyn Bridge, and when it's wet, the wood, it's slippery. At least it was like icy, whatever it was. And I fell, And I like flipped and did a somersault and came up running again, like I had done it on purpose.
I need video. We need
that
proof.
was dope. Like I kind of know how to fall. Like skaters have to know how to fall. So like as a runner, I'm used to falling. I fall on my bike often. So I guess, is any of that embarrassing? I feel like I take it for the team. And like when I fall on my bike, which is basically once a year, it's like, glad I got that over with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, so.
Mandatory fall, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to happen.
It's funny because whenever we bring up this question and people can't think, I'll bring up some of my favorite stories from our interviews. And one of the favorite ones is someone running the marathon. Guy by the name of Ken Tanaka. He used to be in New York City nightlife. Now he's a professional fisherman, oddly enough. And it was big in the outdoors, but he ran the marathon one year. But he ran the marathon while having food poisoning. And so at every mile marker, he took a shit. And he found a porta potty. So 27 shits later, and I'm not sure how many hours it took him, but he finished a marathon. That's determination.
Was that like a Guinness Book or World Records thing?
Like probably one he doesn't want to qualify for.
Yeah, I've had issues on marathons before. That sucks.
Yeah.
But luckily with me, it was funny. It was the Knickerbockers, my first ultra. It's like a 60K in Central Park. So I stopped off at the bathroom at the boathouse.
Yeah.
With like cloth napkins. You know, it was like beautiful bathroom. I was like, oh, this is great. And then I'm running and this guy was like, oh, you should take a salt pill. And I was like, a salt pill? Like, what's that? And it was basically a cube of salt. I took it and it sent me to the bathroom again. But now I'm like, I need the boathouse bathroom. So I had to run like 4 miles to get back to the bathroom. But I knew like that was the like most amazing bathroom in Central Park. So that porta potties scare me. I don't.
Yeah, me either.
So now really I just, even before runs, I try to run on an empty stomach. But that, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
That runner's issues. No carb loading for me.
All right, Mike, I have, this is the last segment of the podcast, and it's a series of 5 rapid fire questions. So obviously you know how that works. First thing comes to mind, answer. Are you ready? All right. What's your favorite city other than New York City?
Guess LA.
LA. Why LA?
Family.
Family?
Yeah, and there's a lot of True Yorkers out there. It's like a reunion with True Yorkers every time I go there. It's awesome.
Okay.
I
So would you ever live there?
No.
Never.
Nice place to visit. I mean, you know, bi-coastal or bipolar, one or the other, you know, it's like, or tri-coastal if you're lucky. You know, I could be there because I got family there and the good weather, but I couldn't deal with the traffic. And
I mean,
I love, you know,
totally
I'd like to travel, so I don't know. But I mean, I guess, could I have a home there? Yeah, you know.
but
sure.
New York is home.
1,000%.
If you could do any other profession, what would you do?
Any other profession?
Any other profession.
Like, what's my profession now? I have like 1,000 professions.
I guess one that, whatever it is.
Besides what I'm doing, I mean, I'm ATA. I'm all the above. So I'm kind of doing everything now. I'm never not a work in progress.
Oh, so if I were to say, as a child, did you have like a dream job? Would you want to be like professional athlete or something?
As a child, no, but no, I don't know. But I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I think I'm always have something. But I just try to do
I know that about you. I've got a couple of meetings with you. You're like, I got this idea. I'm like, what is it, Mike? And NFTs or
not NFTs. That's not my bubble. But I had enough problems selling real art. I could never deal with NFTs. But I do have always got at least 13 things on simmering on the stove, and so hopefully they all,
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the blessing and the curse for an entrepreneur, a creative entrepreneur, right. Obviously.
But I'm kind of not the guy that I want to do it and sell it. I'm like, I want to do it and do it and do it and do it. Do
the process. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So we'll see.
You'll always be happy with that, Should be at least. What's your vice?
What's my vice? I don't know. I talk too much sometimes, I guess. I overwhelm people with my ideas.
No, I mean, like, your vice is in, like, is there something, like, some people, alcohol is their vice, or sex, or drugs, or whatever, like.
I'm not just talking too much.
Yeah.
In a meeting, I talk myself out of deals because I'm like, they're like, how could you be serious about this if you're doing all of that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, trust me, I am. So that's my problem.
Well, then, what's your greatest fear?
What is my greatest fear? I don't know. It's definitely not failure. I actually kind of working on a book called Failure is an Option, because I feel that, certain failures have led me, but more importantly,
failing to get to pick up your son on time. Yes. There you go.
But more importantly than myself, some of my failures have led to my children excelling beyond expectation.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, if I didn't do this or didn't, if I had this or that, if I was making over $60,000 a year, my daughter wouldn't get the scholarships that she got to bring her through Stanford.
Right.
If I, didn't lose this apartment at the seaport, my son might not have become a pro gamer. So I feel like some of my failures have helped my children, for better or worse. So it's definitely not failure. So what do I fear? I don't know. Sadly, heights have been scaring me lately. When I was younger, I used to climb crazy shit to do graffiti, and the other day I'd climb something and it scared the shit out of me.
Heights,
so
yeah, I'm a little afraid.
Like
of heights.
I used to jump fire escapes and fucking hang shit, and now I don't know. Yeah. I feel like jumping too much when I'm like on the edge. I'm just like, why do I want to jump? So that's what I fear now. Yeah.
What's your favorite food? Is the last question. I know you brought something today, so is that your favorite food?
My favorite food.
There you go.
I'm like a best kept secret guy. It's actually like a series I started a long time ago. So
shout out to New York City fire engines blowing the horns nonstop.
We never had this problem at all.
Never.
Good sound effects, yes. So is this red hot? I did order spicy. So
break it out, see what it looks like.
I like to explore New York and find new and old places. And this place is Vietnam Cafe, and it is a fried fish banh mi with a fried egg on it.
Ooh, that looks good.
It's really hard to find fried fish sandwiches downtown anyways, and then to get this one with the carrots and cucumbers.
Would you say that's like one of your favorite foods?
Yeah, I mean, I love, like, when I have people from out of town that come to New York, and they're like, New York's so expensive, it's $20 for a sandwich, and it's this and that,
you know, wrong place.
$5 for a slice and all that, So I'm like, I like to be able to bring people to places where, like, okay, like, I just proved you wrong. Like, you could get this sandwich for, and this iced coffee, so like.
I do the same thing. I live in Jersey City, but there's a Cuban spot near my house where you can get $9 massive dinner.
Right.
Matter of $6 breakfast. People are like, look at these prices. I mean, you can find cheap places to eat and survive at in every city. You just have to know where they are.
Well, to me, I don't eat cheap food. I eat inexpensive food.
Inexpensive, yes.
So
the quality is amazing.
That's my thing is that, like, I want to find you great food for a great price and a great experience. So that's my favorite food. Like,
and they're usually
what would it be? I would say my go-to spot now that, like, is my yakitori spot on Christie and Grand Street. This, like, the street meat on the corner of Grand. They're only there at night. They're not there in the rain. And they have, like, the illest chicken wings and gnocchi mushrooms and flour chives. They have, like, the crazy menu. So that's my spot. Extra spicy. I get everything.
I would rather go to places like that than a Michelin-rated spot. Michelin-rated spot, sure, it could be good, but I feel like the experience is the same no matter where you go. But when you go to these local, I don't want to call it not all street food, but local spots that are authentic to some sort of immigrant population, they're so much better.
Right. No, always, and it's like, who do you want to give your money to? Right? Like,
back to that.
I'm I'm not trying to go to Starbucks ever unless
Right.
I have to. I'm always looking for a little mom and pop. Like there's a lot of little Japanese coffee shops I frequent now. One on 6th Street, one on Delancey, where they have dope coffee, or Ludlow,
Yeah.
by Sweet Chick. I get coffee there, but I'm always trying to, put my dollar back into the community, not into like stock options and shit.
Shout out to John. Dope, man. I mean, I think that's the mantra of a true Yorker, right?
I think so. Like, it's funny when we started True Yorkers, I had these rules where like you had to show a birth certificate or a class picture.
I don't
to
qualify.
Be dad.
I was born in Paris and I live in Jersey City, so I'm not a true Yorker.
But I had to create all these clauses because a lot of people that weren't born here are true Yorkers. So it's like the Harry Jumanji clause and DJ Hero and a few other people. So
let me get a clause.
Recently with Clayton, Clayton Patterson, came here when he was 18. Because I switched it to like, okay, did you carry a lunchbox in New York? Did you have lunch tickets? Did you have a train pass?
I went to school in Manhattan when I was a kid.
Oh, there you go.
I went to Eunice. So
you're good.
So
you're
good.
in there. You're in there.
You hear that, guys? I'm qualified as a New Yorker by the man himself, Mike Saes. Yes. There we go.
So
stamp of approval.
We changed the rules, but really it became like, did you add to the canvas of New York City? Like, did you make New York a better place? And obviously you and others have done that. So you might not have the birth certificate, but you got the class picture.
I got the class picture,
cool.
just like you. I didn't graduate from from that, but I got the class picture. There we go.
Yeah,
that's amazing, Mike. I'm happy I got to learn about you. I've known you for a long time, but we never really sat down and asked you about your history. So thank you for coming through, asking,
my pleasure,
answering questions, and also thank you for initially being such a huge support for Outsiders.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's all the same thing about exploring.
Yeah.
So what you guys do and what we did on Earth Day was amazing.
Yeah,
that little run on Roosevelt Island.
Yeah,
right. That was a little longer.
Pulled my calf doing that.
You run fast. I'm like, really? This is your speed? I'm like,
the thing is, I need somebody to pace me. Otherwise, I run fast.
You need to run
all the
sexy
time.
pace. Yeah,
Yeah, sexy pace. Show me the sexy pace, Mike.
Yeah, we'll get it together.
I appreciate you coming through. Big shout out again to North Face for hosting us, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Peace. This is your speed? I'm like,
The thing is, I need somebody to pace me. Otherwise, I run fast.
It's about sexy pace.
Yeah, sexy pace. Show me the sexy pace, Mike.
We'll get it together.
I appreciate you coming through. Big shout out again to North Face for hosting us, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Peace.
All right, that's one.
You're gonna beep out all the time.